Have you ever found yourself watching someone else succeed and feeling this really specific, uncomfortable mix of emotions? It's not just jealousy, it's deeper than that.
Mm.
You look at a colleague or a friend from college or even a competitor,
Uh,
and they just seem to have this steady, rhythmic, almost inevitable progress.
right. And they're not necessarily smarter than you.
No, they certainly don't look like they're suffering more than you. But they're getting traction. They're moving forward.
And you're standing in a cloud of smoke,
Yeah.
just spinning your wheels.
Exactly. You're working hard. You are sweating. But you're staying in the same place. And that forces you to ask the question, is it luck? Is it talent? Is it who you know? Is the game rigged?
It's the oldest question in the book.
Hmm.
And usually, if we're being really honest with ourselves, we answer it with excuses. We say the system is broken, or the timing was bad, or they had a head start.
We externalize the cause.
We do, because that protects our ego.
Yeah.
It is much, much safer to say the game is rigged than to admit we might be playing it wrong.
That is a tough pill to swallow. But today, we're going to swallow it. We are back with James Allen and his masterpiece, As a Man Thinketh. This is our 5th installment, and the title is Thought and Achievement. And I have to say, Allen's answer to that question of why them and not me, it's uncomfortable, but it's also incredibly liberating.
It is. He just strips away every single excuse. He says achievement is not a lottery ticket. It is not lightning striking a lucky few. Achievement is the direct, almost mathematical result of disciplined thought and consistent action.
If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
It really does help us keep this conversation going.
So let's set the stage here. We're at a real pivot point in the book. For the last few discussions, we've been very internal. We've been talking about the inner garden, thought and character, thought and health. It's been, meditative.
Very much so. But today we are moving from the inner world to the outer world. We're talking about tangible results.
We're moving from the seed to the fruit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is where the rubber meets the road. If you've been with us, you know the core thesis. Thoughts are things. They are forces. But today we have to answer the practical question. How? How does an invisible, weightless idea in your head actually, transmute into a published book or a built business or a debt-free life?
Or even just a strong marriage.
Yes. We're looking for the architecture of achievement.
That's the mission. We want to strip away the magic and look at the actual mechanics. How do you build a life of results without burning out or relying on just brute force willpower alone?
Right.
Allen starts this section with the definition that, I have to admit, sounds a little bit like it belongs in a fantasy novel. It's very poetic.
It is. He writes, achievement of whatever kind is the crown of effort, the diadem of thought.
The crown of effort, the diadem of thought. I mean, it sounds beautiful, but let's be real. If I'm listening to this while I'm driving to work, I might be thinking, that's nice poetry, but what does it actually mean for my life?
Well, it's a dense metaphor, but it's incredibly precise. Think about what a crown actually represents. In history, a crown isn't the beginning of the reign. You don't just wake up wearing it.
Right.
The crown is the symbol of authority that comes after the conquest. It is the final piece of the puzzle.
So it's what people in business might call a lagging indicator.
Precisely. Achievement is a lagging indicator.
Yeah.
We live in a culture that is just obsessed with the crown. We look at the athlete on the podium, the author on the bestseller list, the entrepreneur ringing the opening bell. We see the crown and we think, I want that.
But Allen is saying we're missing the entire kingdom that supports the crown. We're missing the conquest that came before it.
We see the glory, but we miss the grime.
Yes.
And in plain English, Allen is describing a sequence. He treats it like a law of physics. It's unbreakable. First, a thought becomes a plan. Next, a plan becomes repeated steps action. And finally, those repeated steps become a result.
Thought, plan, steps, result. It sounds so simple when you lay it out like that.
Simple, but not easy.
Right, because if it were easy, everyone would be walking around with a diadem of thought. But most of us get stuck, and I think where we get stuck, and where Allen really twists the knife, is right at step 1. It's the difference between a vision and an idle wish.
Ah, the idle wish. This is one of the most important distinctions in the entire book.
I feel like I know this one intimately. I think we all do.
We do. The idle wish is fantasizing about the result without respecting the process. It's sitting on the couch, imagining having six-pack abs, or imagining being a celebrated writer, or imagining having $1 million in the bank.
But there's a key part to it, isn't there? It's usually accompanied by a sense of resentment that you don't have it yet.
That's it exactly. It's that feeling of, why not me? It is wanting the prize without paying the price. Allen calls this drifting, and that is such a descriptive word. Think about a log floating down a river. It has no engine. It has no rudder. It just goes where the current takes it.
Drifting. It feels harmless, though, doesn't it? It just feels like daydreaming.
It feels harmless, but Alan, who is usually very gentle, gets quite stern here. He argues that aimlessness is a vice.
A vice. That's a heavy word. We usually say vice for things like gambling or drinking. He's saying that just sitting there, dreaming, but not doing, is actually a moral failing.
He is. He says that drifting, waiting to feel ready, waiting for inspiration, waiting for the stars to align, is a form of moral weakness because it leads to nowhere.
It disconnects cause from effect in your own mind.
Yes. When you engage in an idle wish, you are literally training your brain to believe that results should just happen to you. You are training yourself to be helpless.
That is profound. You're making yourself fragile because the moment you try something and it doesn't work instantly, the idle wisher just collapses. They say, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be.
Whereas the person with a vision is completely different. A vision is a thought that is married to a purpose. It is a thought that has rolled up its sleeves and gone to work. The vision doesn't just see the crown, it sees the mud, the climb, the late nights, and it accepts them as part of the package.
So how do we move from that idle wish to the vision? What's the price of admission?
Alan is very clear on this. He says, he who would achieve much must sacrifice much.
Sacrifice. Now, there's a word we do not like to hear in modern advertising. We want 7-minute abs and get rich quick. We want the result and the comfort.
We want the and, but nature and reality, they operate on or.
So what exactly are we sacrificing? Because when I hear that word, I think of suffering. I think of, hair shirts and sleeping on the floor.
No, and we really need to reclaim this word. Sacrifice comes from a root meaning to make sacred. It is not about suffering for the sake of suffering. It is about trade-offs. It's an economic exchange. Alan says we must sacrifice confused animal thoughts.
Confused animal thoughts. That's an interesting phrase. What does that mean in a modern context?
Think about the structure of your brain. You have the prefrontal cortex, the executive, the planner, the visionary, and then you have the limbic system, the lizard brain, the animal. What does the animal want?
The animal wants safety. It wants food. It wants to conserve energy.
And it wants it now. The animal nature seeks immediate pleasure and avoids immediate pain. It wants to hit the snooze button. It wants to scroll through social media because that provides a little dopamine drip. It wants to eat the donut. That is the confused animal thought, the impulse that says, do what feels good right now.
So to achieve, you have to sacrifice that immediate comfort for a future good.
Exactly. You have to sacrifice the confusion. You have to kill the drift to feed the focus. You cannot have both. You cannot keep the comfort of inaction and also have the crown of achievement. You have to trade one for the other. That is the architecture. It is built on the foundation of that trade.
Okay, so let's say the listener is nodding along. They're ready to make that trade. They're ready to stop drifting. We want to build this architecture. What's the method? Because Alan gives us a philosophy, but if we look at his work alongside modern psychology and even the ancient Stoics, we can actually map out a 5-part method.
We can. It's a very practical operating system.
Let's walk through it. What's step 1?
Step 1 is clarity. Alan says you need a centralizing point for your thoughts.
A centralizing point?
Yes. Think of a magnifying glass. If you go outside on a sunny day and hold a magnifying glass over a pile of dry leaves, nothing happens if you just keep moving your hand around. The sun's energy is diffused,
right.
But if you hold it still, if you centralize that energy on a single point, what happens?
You get fire.
You get fire. That is clarity. Modern psychologists like Locke and Latham have done massive studies on this. They call it goal-setting theory. And they found that specific, difficult goals consistently lead to higher performance than vague do-your-best goals.
So I want to get healthy is an idle wish. I want to lose 10 pounds by running 3 times a week is a centralizing point.
Exactly. One is a fog, the other is a laser. You cannot hit a target you have not defined. So the first step is getting that magnifying glass steady.
Okay, so we have the fire, we have the target. That leads us to the next step.
Step 2 is focus. Alan calls this marking out a straight pathway.
And this is where the enemies show up.
They do, and the enemies are internal. Alan identifies 2 specific enemies, doubt and fear. He calls them disintegrating elements.
Disintegrating elements? That sounds like something from chemistry or physics.
It is a perfect metaphor. If you're building a structure, you need integrity. You need the bonds to hold together. Doubt and fear, they break the bonds. They crumble the mortar. When you let doubt in, am I good enough? What if this fails? Who am I to do this? It literally breaks the straight line of your effort. Your path becomes crooked. You hesitate.
And hesitation kills momentum.
It kills it dead. Modern science backs this up completely. Albert Bandura, a famous psychologist, talks about self-efficacy. That is just a fancy term for your belief in your own ability to succeed.
Right, your confidence.
Exactly. And Bandura found that self-doubt is not just an emotion, it is a brake pedal. When self-efficacy drops, action stops. So Allen is not just being poetic when he says doubt leads to failure. He is describing a psychological mechanism. To achieve, you have to rigorously exclude doubt.
Rigorously exclude it. That sounds hard. I mean, how do you just turn off doubt? I can't just flip a switch in my brain.
You don't turn it off by arguing with it.
Yeah.
If you argue with doubt, you lose. You turn it off by acting. Which leads us to the next step. Practice. This is the action layer.
And this connects us back to the ancients, doesn't it?
It does. Both the Stoics and Aristotle were obsessed with this. Aristotle had this concept called hexis. It's often translated as habit, but that's a bit too weak. Hexis means an active condition. It means virtue is not something you have, it's something you do and something you hold.
Like a posture.
Yes, like a posture of the soul. You don't just be honest once. You hold the posture of honesty. You don't just work hard once. You hold the posture of industry. The Stoics said we must assemble our life action by action. You don't build a wall, you lay a brick.
And then you lay another brick.
And you be content if each brick is laid as well as it can be.
That is so freeing. Because looking at the whole wall building, the whole business, losing all the weight, that is overwhelming. But I can lay one brick.
You could always lay one brick. That is the practice. But, and this is crucial, you will not lay every brick perfectly. The wall will start to lean. So you need the next step, correction.
Feedback loops.
Feedback loops. Allen calls this watchfulness. He says victories are maintained by watchfulness. Why? Because success makes us complacent. We stop paying attention.
We get the result, so we stop doing the things that got us the result.
Exactly. We get the crown and we forget the effort. In modern systems theory, this is a cybernetic loop. Think of a thermostat. It constantly checks the temperature and adjusts the heating. It is never done. It is always correcting. Achievement isn't a straight line. It's a zigzag of constant course correction.
You try, you fail, you adjust, you try again. And that leads to the final step in the method, right?
The final step is repeat. This is where the magic happens. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, talks about the compound effect. It is the idea that small actions repeated over time do not just add up, they multiply.
The 1% rule.
Right. You get 1% better every day. You are not 3 times better at the end of the year. You are 37 times better. But you have to repeat. You have to do the rep. Allen says, a plan becomes repeated steps. That repetition is what changes your identity. You stop being a person who tries to write, and you become a writer.
I love that. It's the identity shift. So we have clarity, focus, practice, correction, and repeat. That's the method. But Allen adds a warning label to this whole process. He talks about the foundation. And he uses a word that feels very heavy, integrity.
Integrity. It comes from the root word integer, meaning whole or complete. Structural integrity. Allen in the wisdom literature Proverbs, Aesop, they all insist on this. You cannot build a strong result on weak choices.
Aesop has that great line, outside show is a poor substitute for inner worth.
It's the perfect summary. We live in a world of outside show. We filter our photos, we curate our lives on the internet. But Allen is saying that achievement, true achievement, is heavy. It has weight.
Yeah.
And if you try to place a heavy achievement on a character that's full of holes, dishonesty, laziness, cutting corners, the whole thing will collapse.
It's like building a skyscraper on a swamp. It might look good for a few stories, but eventually gravity wins.
Gravity always wins. If your internal thought process is corrupt, if you're trying to cheat the system or use people or get something for nothing, the external achievement will inevitably collapse. It might take a month, it might take 10 years, but the foundation will fail. The structure must be sound.
So let's take this architecture, this method and this foundation, and let's apply it, because we promised practical examples. Let's look at 3 areas: work, relationships, and habits. How does this apply to our careers?
In work, the application is skill building. We often wish for success, the promotion, the raise, the recognition. That is the idle wish. The vision is focusing on the skill.
Deliberate practice.
Yes. Instead of fantasizing about being the boss, you focus on the straight pathway of improving your specific weaknesses. You sacrifice the comfort of just getting by for the discomfort of learning something new. Consistent output beats sporadic bursts of brilliance every time. The person who shows up every day and lays the brick, who improves their coding, their writing, their public speaking by 1%, eventually owns the crown.
What about relationships? We don't usually talk about achievement in relationships, but I think it applies.
Oh, it absolutely applies. But the currency is different. In relationships, the currency is trust.
Trust is built action by action.
Precisely. You do not achieve a great marriage or a deep friendship with one grand gesture. You don't fix a year of neglect with one bouquet of flowers. That is the outside show. Achievement in relationships is trust built through repeated actions and clean communication over time.
It's the discipline of showing up.
It is. It is the sacrifice of being right for the sake of being kind. It is the watchfulness to notice when you're drifting apart and correcting course.
I like that. The discipline of showing up. It takes the whole romance novel fantasy out of it and makes it something you can actually do.
It makes it manageable. And finally, let's look at habits. The application here is identity.
This goes back to James Clear.
It does. Don't just try to achieve the result of running a marathon. That is an outcome. Focus on the identity. I am a runner. How does a runner think? A runner runs, even if it is raining, even if they are tired.
Small routines compound into capability.
Exactly. A small habit today, just putting on your running shoes, builds the foundation for the big achievement later. You are proving to yourself, rep by rep, that you are this new person.
That is so powerful. It's not about the finish line. It's about the person you become on the way to the finish line.
That is the diadem. The person you become is the crown.
Okay, I want to make this really tangible for everyone listening. We've talked about the theory. Now let's do a reset. We're going to do a guided exercise.
Yes. We call this the achievement reset. I want you to do this with us right now. You don't need to write it down if you were driving, but just do it in your head.
Okay.
Step 1. Choose one goal you care about deeply. Just one. Don't pick 5. Pick the one that has been keeping you up at night or maybe the one you've given up on.
Got it.
Okay, step 2. Write the very next small step in plain language. And I mean small. Make it so small it takes 2 minutes. If your goal is to write a book, the step is not write a chapter. It is open the document and write one sentence.
Okay, 2 minutes. I can do that.
Step 3. Identify the specific thought that blocks you. Be honest. Is it fear? Is it an excuse? Is it perfectionism? I'm too tired. It won't be good enough. Identify that disintegrating element.
For me, it is usually I don't have enough time to do it perfectly, so I won't do it at all.
Classic perfectionism. Okay, now step 4. Replace that block with a clean direction statement. Replace I need to do it perfectly with I am the type of person who shows up even for 2 minutes. Replace I am too tired with action creates energy.
I am the type of person who writes every day.
Perfect. Step 5. Do the step today, not tomorrow, today. Even if it is imperfect, especially if it's imperfect, action kills fear. You have to slay the doubt with the sword of action.
And finally.
Step finally. Remove one contradiction. Identify one distraction, one avoidance tactic, or overplanning habit, and cut it out for today. If you usually scroll social media for 30 minutes before bed, cut it. Sacrifice the drift to feed the focus.
That is a powerful reset. It takes it from someday to today.
That's the only place achievement lives. It lives in today.
Now, even with a roadmap like this, we all stumble. There are common potholes on this road. Let's look at the common mistakes and how to fix them.
Yeah, there are 5 big ones. Mistake 1, focusing on the outcome, not the identity.
We obsess over the prize.
We do. We want the gold medal. But if you focus only on the medal, the training feels like a punishment. The thing is to focus on being the person who does the work. Fall in love with the boredom of the process. If you love the work, the goal takes care of itself.
Mistake 2, waiting for motivation. I just don't feel like it today.
Motivation is a fair weather friend. It is never there when you need it. The fix is to use implementation intentions. That is just psychology speak for if-then plans. Decide when you will act. If it is 7 in the morning, then I will sit at my desk.
You make the decision beforehand.
Yes, so you don't have to rely on feeling like it in the moment. You outsource your willpower to the clock.
Mistake 3, letting doubt break the line.
We talked about this. Doubt is a virus. The fix is to recognize it, label it. Oh, there is doubt trying to disintegrate my effort. And then ignore it. Act anyway. Treat doubt like background noise, not a stop sign.
What's mistake 4?
Neglecting the daily rep. This is the inconsistency trap. We go hard for 3 days and then quit for 4. The fix is to remember that consistency beats intensity. Always. Marcus Aurelius said to do the work of a human every day. You don't have to be a superhero. You just have to be a human who shows up.
And mistake 5.
Despising the small start.
We want to start big.
We do. We feel silly doing the small habit. It feels insignificant. But the fix is to remember, the oak sleeps in the acorn. Every massive achievement started as a microscopic action. Respect the small beginning. It is the seed of the crown.
This has been dense, in the best way. I feel like we've unpacked the entire operating system of success. Let's recap what we've covered.
Let's do it. First, achievement isn't magic. It's the inevitable result of disciplined thought plus consistent action.
Next, you're the architect. Your thoughts are the blueprints.
And wishing is a trap. Planning is a discipline.
Sacrifice is necessary. You must trade the drift for the focus.
And integrity is the bedrock. Weak character cannot support heavy success.
Small, repeated actions compound into massive results.
And finally, watchfulness maintains success. You have to keep your guard up even after you win.
The crown must be polished every day. That's a great image to leave with.
It's the reality. Achievement is a living thing. It needs care.
This has been our 5th installment. We've looked at how thoughts become things. But there is another layer to this. We've talked about the mechanics, but what about the fuel? What pulls us forward when the road gets dark?
That is the role of the visionary. Next time, we're going to talk about visions and ideals. Alan makes a bold claim. He says the dreamers are the saviors of the world. We're going to explore how to cultivate a vision that is so strong, so beautiful, that it pulls you forward through any obstacle. It's about the spiritual engine of achievement.
I cannot wait for that. Thank you for being here with us on this journey.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.